this boss is something. My name is Pei and I'm about to show you how I did my delve 1 to 8 with budget gear and no fluff whatsoever. There's no need for markers and billions in gear. All you need is
patience, brother. Patience.
Because this boss is gonna turn your smile into a memory. I usually do 4 beginners guides cause I'm a newer player as well and I like to share my adventures as I'm experiencing them. But this time it's a bit different. A lot of people are struggling with the boss and it makes sense since Jack actually said that this encounter is aimed towards more experienced players. So I took this as a challenge upon myself and it was either me completing Delve 8 or quitting RuneScape altogether. Since you're watching this video, you can probably guess which one it is. Just for reference, I don't even have a quiver or an infernal cape and I know for a fact that a lot of you folks are in the same shoes, so just something to keep in mind. This is a budget setup, not out of wisdom, just pure unfiltered poverty. For this encounter we're gonna be using the good old Elite Void. Since this boss is a demon, literally and figuratively, we want to use demon bane weapons since they have increased accuracy and damage bonus against demonic creatures. So our ranged weapon is going to be a scorching bow. Combined with the accuracy and damage increase from Elite Void, you can imagine how good this thing is. There's a choice between amethyst or dragon arrows, but I was using amethyst arrows until I got comfortable with the encounter, then swapped to dragon arrows because of the increased max hit. Our melee is going to be either silver light, dark light, arch light or ember light, whichever is fine, and our melee spec weapon is the crystal halberd. Our mage weapon is going to be any staff that can auto-cast Arceus spells, specifically dark demon bane. As far as other gear is concerned, anguish is a beast because of the increased max hit, but if you don't have one, just run fury or blood fury. Lightbearer is pretty much the best in slot ring because we need specs constantly. Of course we're using Avas since we don't have a quiver, and Arania boots are pretty much the best pick here since we're on a budget. My inventory is filled with around 6 restores, 8 brews, a few combo food for waves 7 and 8, 2 range potions, either standard ones or 1 divine and 2 standards just for when you brew down, and an anti-venom. Obviously runes for demon bane spells and trolls. Delve is a progressive encounter in a sense that each level or delve adds additional mechanics and naturally becomes harder and more chaotic. This is a table of all mechanics by delve level from the official wiki, and although it probably doesn't make any sense now, it should in a few moments. The Doom of Mocha regularly attacks with either ranged, mage or melee, unless he's phased out doing other attacks. So we need to pray range against the green orb, mage against the blue orb and melee against the red orb. This is gonna be consistent throughout the whole fight, only projectiles will be faster with each delve level. Mocha will throw an exploding rock which disables our protection prayers, leaves a rubble under our character and shoots either ranged or mage projectiles at us. You can differentiate the attacks by the color of the rock. If it's blue, the first projectile will always be mage, otherwise it will be ranged. So we're going to have a combination of range range and mage range mage. These larvae will crawl through the room constantly. First few levels they're neutral and we have a few options on how to kill them. So for example, if there's a melee larvae, we can hit it with either ranged or magic. Once killed, they'll explode in a small area around, so we just need to make sure to avoid that. In the deeper levels, the larvae will be colored, so if there's a green one, we need to hit it with ranged, and of course red one with melee and blue one with mage. The good thing about them is that they don't have an attack delay, so literally whenever we click on them, our character will attack. We can be in the middle of a boss attack, we'll still attack the larvae. Occasionally, and usually right after the exploding rock, Mocha will start charging his shield and he's going to pray against ranged and magic. We need to attack him with melee before he's fully charged, otherwise he's going to shoot a beam which does up to 99 damage at later levels. This is called the melee punish phase. Starting at level 3, Mocha will spray the room with acid. Standing in the acid will do some minimum amount of damage and venom you, so it's a good idea to bring one extended anti-venom since one dose protects for about 6 minutes. Also starting at level 3, Mocha will initiate a shield phase and larvae will constantly move towards him. So in this phase we need to do 2 things. Hit the boss before he's charged up and kill the larvae before they reach the boss, since they're going to heal him and damage us. If we kill the larvae next to the boss, they're going to do 100 damage to the shield which will accelerate the fight immensely. Starting at level 5, Mocha will turn into a car and zoom around the cave. If he runs us over, we're going to take some damage. At later stages, he's going to shoot his regular auto attacks while zooming around, and we're going to have to hide behind rocks to avoid shockwaves. And the hardest part of the encounter, right after the car phase and in the earlier stages around a minute into the fight, Mocha will spawn multitudes of volatile earth in the area and initiate his shockwave attack. To protect against the shockwave, we must attack 2 volatile earths to generate generate an earthen shield, then stand within it for protection. The first volatile earth determines the destination of the shield, while the second determines its spawn point. You can also subscribe to my channel for an extra layer of protection during this phase. Now that's a lot of attacks and a huge amount of info, but if there's any encounter when I can confidently say practice makes perfect, it's definitely this one. To lighten the mood, I'm just gonna say that waves 1 to 5 are pretty much free and really easy. Anyone can grind the shit out of those and probably make some decent cash as well. Waves 6 and 7 combine all the attacks from above, but they're not that hard once memorized. The only hard wave is wave 8, and it's only because we get hit with 2 exploding rocks, meaning we have to pray against 6 really fast projectiles, which in itself isn't that hard, but it becomes tricky when you need to pray against them while trying to protect yourself with an earthen shield after the car phase. Wave 1 is pretty simple. Summon a troll, pray rigor, and attack the boss. Protect against his projectiles and kill the larvae when they spawn. Once he throws the rock, wait until it explodes and move to a tile which doesn't have a shadow. Since it was a brown rock, we know the first projectile is going to be ranged, so pray range. If we had a protection prayer on during the attack, it would be disabled, like so. Once Mocha starts charging his shield and we see mage and rage protections above him, we need to get ready to spec with the crystal halberd. Equip the halberd, pray piety, and click the spec bar. This part is a bit fast, but I suggest opting out of using piety here until we're comfortable with the encounter. As you can see, he also threw a rock right before he started charging his shield, so you can already kind of tell he's starting to mix different attacks together. I'm going to include the table of attacks just so we know what we're dealing with on each level. Wave 2 is identical as wave 1, only this time the exploding rock will have 2 projectiles. A blue rock was thrown, which means the first projectile will be mage, followed up by a ranged one. Rest of the fight is identical. I didn't manage to kill Mocha on time, so he entered the shockwave phase. Just be wary that this can happen on any level if you don't deal enough damage. According to Wiki, 12 seconds after the volatile earth spawn, Mocha will do a shockwave, so we're either somehow going to count those 12 seconds or we're going to trust our feelings and predict the timing. Since we're seasoned veterans, we already know what's it gonna be. There's a sound cue as well. As soon as we hear this and the boss starts shivering, we should have already attacked the volatile. Now, the first volatile earth we destroy determines the destination of our shield, and the second one determines its spawn point. Since it's wave 2 and Mocha does only one blast, just destroy whichever volatile earth first, go to another volatile, wait until the time is right, destroy the second volatile and stand within the shield to soak the blast. It despawned immediately because it's only one blast on wave 2 and there was no need to walk around and follow the shield. Wave 3 introduces 2 new mechanics, Acid Blood and Demonic Shield. We're going to do everything exactly the same as in wave 2, only this time Mocha will spit acid throughout the cave, which we need to avoid. In addition to that, he'll enter a shield phase where we'll need to break 500 damage worth of shield, while taking out larvae which are moving towards the boss. If we kill the larvae next to the boss, they're going to do 100 damage to the shield. Rest of the fight is the same, only this time notice that in the volatile phase he does 2 shockwaves, so this time we're going to have to walk a bit. Wave 4 is almost the same as wave 3, only this time the exploding rock throws 3 projectiles at us, which by the way is the maximum for all levels. So we're either going to get a mage range if blue rock or range mage range if it's a brown rock. Also, the larvae are now colored and we need to attack them with their respective weaknesses, which is range for a green larvae, mage for blue and melee for the red one. Everything else is the same. Good luck. Wave 5 introduces the car phase, and the shockwaves during the volatile earth phase are triggered 3 times instead of 2. So as soon as we finish the shield phase with all the little larvae, Mocha is going to turn into a car, drop a bunch of rocks around the cave and zoom around 2 times. He'll always go after our character, destroying any rocks in his path. So the general rule of thumb is to try and pull him wherever he'll destroy as less rocks as possible. For wave 5, it doesn't really matter since he doesn't attack or do shockwaves in his car phase. So just avoid the collision and make sure to attack him to break his shield. If we don't attack him and he charges up the shield, we're going to take a lot of damage. Mocha is most vulnerable during his car phase, so we need to try and do as much damage as possible in this phase. Once the car phase is done, he's going to spawn volatiles and we'll need to come up with a petting for a shield because he'll do 3 shockwaves this time. Since there's no acid on this side and I'm fine with the petting, I'm just going to destroy the 2 relatively distant volatiles. On wave 6, all the acid will be removed and alongside all of the above attacks, he's now going to add regular auto attacks to his car phase. He's going to do 3 instead of 2 zooms and after each zoom he's going to do a shockwave and we'll need to hide behind a rock in order to not take damage. In this phase, we need to think about where we're going to pull the boss during the car phase because the shockwave destroys rocks as well, leaving us with less place to hide. Standing in this area will pull the boss towards you, and standing in this area would pull the boss diagonally. Just something to get used to. So I pull the boss towards me. Notice he's auto-attacking as well, so keep an eye on your prayers. Hide behind the closest rock and think where you're going to pull the boss next, and save as much rocks as possible. I see some leftover rocks on the left side, and I'm fine with the boss going straight towards me. Once the small crater appears, that's our cue to start running. Don't forget to attack the boss and pray against projectiles. I hide behind the rocks, and luckily his shockwave didn't reach all the rocks here, so I'm fine sending him diagonally to finally hide behind the last rocks next to me. Of course, we didn't do enough damage, so we have to take care of the volatile earth phase. There's no acid here, so we're completely fine. Just choose 2 most straight lined volatile earths and prepare for 3 shockwaves. Wave 7 is almost identical as wave 6, only this time the first projectile out of 3 will travel at a supersonic speed right at your face, so be prepared. Also, instead of 3 shockwaves, Mocha will do 4. In the car phase, it's completely fine to tank a shockwave. That's why we have supplies, so don't even stress about it. In the volatile phase, again, I've chosen the 2 most distant and lined up volatiles to tank the 4 shockwaves. Heal up, pot up, because wave 8 is where it's at. On paper, it sounds almost the same as wave 7, he's doing 5 shockwaves instead of 4, and rest of the fight is basically the same, except this time, instead of 1 exploding rock, he's going to throw 2. Let's break this down. He threw 2 brown rocks, and we immediately knew that we're going to have to deal with 2 range mage range sets of projectiles. Since he's in the melee punish phase, the first thing I did was swap to the crystal halberd and attack him. After that, try and avoid the shadows, and as soon as the second rock breaks, turned on my range protection. I highly suggest that in this phase you just stand in place and try to get the prayers correctly. So I prayed ranged mage ranged, kept my range prayer on because the next set also contains ranged projectile as the first one, then again mage and ranged, and continued the shield phase normally. This took me a solid few tries and I died a lot. It was almost inevitable. This is not easy, especially when combined with other attacks in parallel. It can easily throw you off. A lot of good players are struggling with wave 8, so just remember to not take it hard on yourself. The car phase is the same as in wave 7. I kind of failed the whole phase here and took damage from shockwave 2 times, but that's why I brought combo food and healed myself up to full HP quickly. Now the actual hardest part about this whole encounter is this: volatiles, 2 exploding rocks and acid on the ground. We need to protect against 6 projectiles and 5 slams while thinking of a pet for our earthen shield and avoid acid. As you can see, I took some damage here because I didn't pray on time, and I also took damage from the shockwave because I didn't think of right clicking walk here under the boss. Genius. It's all good though, because the shield phase is where we can fully heal and restore ourselves, and that's what I did. In the car phase I took damage because I'm bad, and in the volatile phase I took damage twice and almost died. Luckily I healed on time, and as soon as he entered shield phase I knew it was over and he wouldn't survive another car phase. Now I know that my wave 8 was not clean, I used up all of my supplies and barely even survived, but at the end of the day I finished it, and so can you. Everyone has different goals, and as long as you have fun, that's all that matters. The question is if running Delve is actually worth your time. I got lucky and actually got an Eye of Ayak which sold for around 105 mil, so it was definitely worth my time, and I actually learned a lot in this encounter because it has many different mechanics which can easily translate to the rest of the game. And that's about it. I just wanted to keep it simple without all the markers, new tech and ways to cheese. Just a regular run from a casual player. It's definitely possible, and I'm sure you can do it as well, so good luck, and remember, always delve deeper.